In the quiet suburbs of Broomfield, life once appeared ordinary for a man named Daniel Krug. Neighbors described the neighborhood as peaceful, a place where children rode bicycles through quiet streets, where families gathered for weekend barbecues, and where nothing ever seemed out of place. Daniel Krug lived here with his wife, Kristil Krug, and their 3 young children. 2 outsiders. Their life looked stable, but beneath the calm suburban exterior, their marriage was slowly falling apart. Daniel Krug grew up in Colorado and eventually built a respectable career. He worked in technology and innovation connected to public health systems. Friends described him as intelligent, quiet, analytical. He was not someone people would immediately suspect of violence, but the same intelligence that helped him build a career would later help him plan something far darker. His wife Kristil was very different. Kristil was a biochemical engineer, a scientist with a brilliant mind, but she was also an artist. She loved dance. She performed modern dance and was known for her creativity and passion. Friends described her as fiercely intelligent and deeply compassionate. She was a mother who devoted herself to her children, and she had built a life that blended science and art together. Daniel and Kristil married in 2007. Over the years they built a life together, 3 children, a home in a growing suburban community. But behind closed doors, their relationship had begun to fracture. By 2023, the marriage was under serious strain. Family members later revealed that Kristil had been considering divorce. She wanted custody of the children, and she wanted a new start. But Daniel Krug did not want the marriage to end. Instead of accepting the reality of their failing relationship, he began planning something deeply manipulative, something that would slowly terrorize the woman he claimed to love. And it would begin with a lie that would spiral into stalking, fear, and eventually murder. What Kristil did not know was that the person she trusted most in the world was secretly becoming the very threat she feared. In the fall of 2023, something disturbing began happening to Kristil Krug. It started with a message, a text from a man she had not spoken to in nearly 20 years, an ex-boyfriend. The message asked if she wanted to meet up while he was in town. Kristil ignored it, but the messages didn't stop. They became more aggressive, more disturbing. Some of them contained insults directed at her husband. Others suggested that someone was watching her. One message implied the sender knew exactly where she was. Kristil became frightened. She believed she was being stalked. Eventually, she reported the harassment to police. The messages continued for weeks. Threatening, unpredictable, terrifying. At home, Daniel Krug played the role of the supportive husband. He comforted her. He listened to her fears. He acted concerned, but investigators would later uncover a horrifying truth. The messages weren't coming from her ex-boyfriend. They were coming from inside her own life. Prosecutors later revealed that Daniel Krug had created fake accounts. He used burner phones. He sent emails and texts pretending to be the ex-boyfriend. His plan was bizarre and manipulative. According to prosecutors, Daniel hoped to scare Kristil, then later step in as her protector. He believed it might repair their failing marriage. But the plan spiraled out of control. As Kristil reported the stalking to authorities, the risk grew. Investigators began looking into the messages. Digital traces began forming, and Daniel Krug may have realized something terrifying. His deception might soon be exposed. If police traced the messages, they would lead directly back to him. And if that happened, his marriage wouldn't just be over. His life could be too. What happened next would change everything. Because sometime in December 2023, Daniel Krug decided the only way out was murder. December 14, 2023. It started like a normal morning. Kristil Krug dropped her children off at school. Then she returned home to the family house. What she didn't know was that someone was waiting for her inside the garage. Investigators later determined that Daniel Krug ambushed her. As she entered the garage, she was attacked. She was struck multiple times in the head with a blunt object. The blows knocked her unconscious. Then, she was stabbed directly in the heart. The attack was brutal, and it was personal. Kristil died on the floor of her own garage. But the crime didn't end there, because Daniel Krug immediately began trying to cover his tracks. Investigators later discovered that the home security system had been disabled. A doorbell camera had been covered with blue masking tape, and messages had been sent from Kristil's phone. Messages that appeared to suggest problems in the marriage. Later that day, Daniel contacted police. He asked them to conduct a welfare check. He said he couldn't reach his wife. When officers arrived at the house, they discovered the horrific scene. Kristil Krug was lying in the garage, unconscious, with obvious head trauma. Paramedics attempted to help, But it was too late. She was pronounced dead shortly after officers arrived. At first, Daniel Krug appeared devastated. Body camera footage showed him emotional. A victim advocate comforted him as he talked about his children. He told officers he wanted to be the one to tell them their mother had died. But investigators soon noticed something strange. Too many things didn't add up. The cameras were disabled. No strangers were seen entering the house. And the stalking messages were still hanging over the case. It wouldn't take long before detectives began asking a dangerous question. What if the stalker was never real? As investigators dug deeper into the case, digital evidence began revealing a chilling truth. The threatening messages Kristil had received were traced back to an IP address. The location, Daniel Krug's workplace. Authorities also discovered burner phones that had been purchased with gift cards connected to him. Location data showed the phones traveling alongside Daniel's own device. The stalking had never been real. It had all been staged. Detectives also uncovered disturbing internet searches. Questions about head injuries. Questions about knocking someone unconscious. Questions about how long a person could remain unconscious without brain damage. Each discovery painted a darker picture. Daniel Krug had not only stalked his wife, he had terrorized her for weeks, pretending to be another man, watching her fear grow, all while standing beside her as the supportive husband. 2 days after the murder, Daniel Krug was arrested. He was charged with first-degree murder, 2 counts of stalking, and criminal impersonation. During the trial, prosecutors laid out the disturbing sequence of events. They argued that Daniel's motive was control. When his marriage failed, when Kristil refused to stay, he chose violence. His defense argued that there was no direct physical evidence tying him to the murder. But the digital evidence told a powerful story, and the jury believed it. In April 2025, Daniel Krug was found guilty. He was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The crime devastated Kristil's family, and 3 children were left without both parents. A brilliant scientist, a talented dancer, a loving mother. Kristil Krug's life was stolen in an act prosecutors described as pure manipulation and control, and the man responsible was the one person she should have been able to trust the most, her husband, Daniel Krug.